In Serengeti, the name Ibrahim Traoré needs no introduction. The silent ranger, with silver hair streaking down half his head, still patrolling at dawn, as if the habit had sunk into his bones. For nearly 30 years he lived alone in a small wooden cabin deep in the forest. No wife, no children. Only Simba, a lion who grew up beside him like his own blood. He came to Ibrahim when he was just a tiny newborn, curled beside his mother's lifeless body. No one believed he could raise it. But he didn't just raise Simba. He taught him to live by trust, not by claws. Simba wasn't caged, didn't need a leash. Every morning, he ran behind the patrol truck like clockwork. The rangers knew him well. Simba wasn't a wild beast anymore. And he wasn't a pet either. He was part of the forest, and a part of Ibrahim. That morning the sky was clear and wide. Simba was playing with the young rangers behind the station, and Ibrahim, he drove off alone, just like every other day. No one paid attention, because Simba usually caught up within minutes. Only this time, he took too long. On the other side of the forest, Ibrahim pulled over beneath the dense canopy. It was the edge of the border, a place few dared to go. He turned off the engine, stepped out, hand instinctively touching his belt. No radio, phone, left behind. But he still trusted his ears, his eyes, and his gut. Then, a low, heavy sound echoed. Thud. He ducked down and saw 3 men tying a live rhinoceros to a tree. Blood dripping, its eyes wide open in shock. Ibrahim moved to step back, but it was too late. One of them looked up, their eyes locked. No way to call for help. And for the first time, in 30 years, he didn't know if he'd make it back. Ibrahim turned and ran, but there are no straight paths in the forest. A low-hanging branch swept across his legs. He fell, and then a boot slammed into his chest. The poachers tied him tightly to the base of a large tree. The rope bit into his skin. Blood started to seep. They found his ranger ID and grinned. He's worth something. They didn't bother to gag him, but there was no one to call. No radio, no phone, no Simba. The sun faded. Darkness swallowed the forest. Ibrahim didn't groan. He just stared at the rhinoceros, still tied, gasping for breath. I was too late. A whisper, broken and soft. Miles away, Simba had stopped playing. He'd sensed something was wrong. The scent of blood, the scent of fear, the scent of him. No hesitation, no turning back. Simba ran, alone. And in that dark forest, no one knew. Ibrahim had never truly been alone. Simba ran through the forest, tongue hanging, parched with thirst, eyes wide with worry. Thorns tore his shoulder, mud clung to his fur, but every gust of wind carried something achingly familiar, his scent, blood, and fading fast. As night fell, the poachers set up camp. A torn tarp, 3 rifles resting near the fire. The rhino was still gasping, its back matted with dried blood. Ibrahim was tied to a tree, face bruised and beaten. His eyes were open, but the light in them was gone. Then came the first sound. From the bushes on the right, a branch snapped. Then, from the left, footsteps. Soft, controlled. One of the men grabbed a flashlight, swept it around. Nothing. But then, a low growl. Short, deep. Not a threat. A warning. All 3 turned instantly. From the shadows emerged a body streaked with mud, shoulders bloodied, but eyes burning like fire. Simba. He didn't charge. He walked, slowly, circling the fire, facing each man, one by one. The wind kicked up ashes. The flames lit his eyes in red. One man screamed, "It's the old man's lion." Then he pulled the trigger. The shot cracked through the forest like tearing steel. Simba staggered back half a step, then roared, longer, louder, deeper, and leapt. No tactics, no bluff, just pure instinct, and a love that didn't need words. Simba took one down hard. The rifle flew from his hands. The other two fired wildly. One bullet tore through the grass and hit Simba in the stomach. He jerked. Blood soaked his fur. But he stood between Ibrahim and death. And in that moment, as blood hit the earth, Simba did not fall, because he was waiting for the one thing that could still give him the strength to rise again. The gunshot echoed, and the forest fell silent. Not a natural silence, but the kind born from the instinct to survive. At the Southern Ranger Station, a group was just wrapping up their shift. Then the sound reached them. Sharp, dry, brutal. The youngest ranger frowned. "Ibrahim never carries a gun. Who fired?" No one needed to say anything more. Within a minute, 4 rangers jumped into the truck and sped into the woods. No GPS, no directions, just follow the roars and the gunfire. In the forest, Simba stood his ground with every ounce of instinct left in him. His belly soaked in blood, fur matted and slick. But his eyes never left the 3 men. He didn't growl anymore. He just stood there, between the flames, the ropes, and the shadows, a final shield between evil and the one he loved. The poachers panicked. One raised his rifle again, but then headlights tore through the trees. A siren screamed sharp as a blade. Silhouettes leapt from the vehicle, guns drawn. Within minutes, the poachers were down, all 3 disarmed, over. Ibrahim's ropes were cut. He didn't speak. He just collapsed beside Simba, held him like a piece of his soul was slipping away. Blood pooled beneath the lion. Ibrahim's hand trembled over the wound. "No, you didn't deserve this." Simba was rushed to the field clinic. The wound wasn't too deep, but it wasn't light either. For 2 whole nights, no one on the team slept. Ibrahim stayed right there, his hand on Simba's paw, not moving an inch. On the 5th morning, with the sun rising, Simba opened his eyes, and the first thing he saw was him. No roar, no twitch, just a stare, long, deep, unblinking, as if asking, "You're still here?" And in that moment, Ibrahim smiled, a real smile, but deep in his eyes, he knew there was still one last thing to do, to finish the journey. Simba slowly recovered from lying still for days. He began to stand, took a few steps around the small yard, still limping, still breathing heavy, but the haze in his eyes was gone. Ibrahim never left his side. He sat quietly, hand resting gently on Simba's paw. Not many words. When Simba slept, he kept watch. When Simba opened his eyes, Ibrahim would just nod. And that look said more than 1,000 words ever could. By the 7th day, with sunlight pouring into the yard, Simba made a full circle around the station. His steps were unsure, but his tail swung high just like before. He stopped beside Ibrahim, sat down, as if waiting for a signal. That morning, Ibrahim wore his old leather bag, said nothing to anyone, just gave a quiet nod. The team knew. No patrol today. Today was about returning a life to where it belonged. The truck stopped at the forest's edge. The back door opened, and the rhinoceros, the one who'd nearly died, was gently led out. The ropes were removed. It stood still for a few seconds, then walked back into the forest, between tall grasses, as if it had never been hurt. Ibrahim stood next to Simba, eyes squinting in the sunlight. Simba wasn't tense anymore. He just stood there, a witness to life moving forward. At the same time, the three poachers were loaded into the security truck. They didn't say a word, but their eyes couldn't hide the fear. They knew, this time, the forest would not forgive. Ibrahim placed his hand on Simba's back. "Let's go," he whispered. Simba didn't need to answer. He walked beside him, shoulder to shoulder, through golden sunlight spilling over the grassland. Dear friends, some wounds need time to heal, and some friendships, once chosen, last a lifetime.